Hey guys, here I am once more. So today, like I think yesterday or the day before or something, no, I think it was yesterday. I actually put out a video about the just books that I was reading and stuff, and how I was going to see How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake in theaters. And so I thought, let's get while it's fresh in my brain from yesterday, let's get our thoughts out here. Okay. So first of all, I want to say that I really did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it for the most part. There was a couple of things which I'll get into that I didn't like, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was pretty good. I thought it was really fun that Gerard Butler was back as stoic, but in the live action, that doesn't happen very often. So I thought that was really fun. Um, and Mason Thames, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but he did a really solid job as Hiccup. And honestly, all of the actors did a really solid job. Um, so overall, the film is essentially exactly the same. Maybe like a few lines being different, but pretty much shot for shot. It is the exact same movie as the animated feature, which is very strange to me. I kind of got that impression from watching the trailers, but I thought maybe the trailer was just showing us the scenes that were exactly from the animated feature, to try to draw in the fans, right? But usually live actions do things a little bit different in some way, shape, or form. Not always. I mean, most of the time they're very close to the subject matter because that's how they draw you in. But for the most part, there's like little differences, little nuances, little something that makes it stand on its own. Well, in this one, no. I mean, you could watch this or you could watch the better version, which is the animated version, in my personal opinion, okay? I still had fun. I still had a great time, but I am also pretty easy to please, And I guess maybe I had a great time because the original film script and the way that it was done was really good. So having it in live action form was just like, oh, I mean, this is still a great movie, and now there's real people in it. Okay, yeah. So that it kind of like, I don't understand why it had to be done. But I guess whatever, because we already have it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Either way, it was good. I mean, the original movie's really good, so it was really good. Um, Gripes. I'll go into my gripes briefly because I do wanna praise it because I think it did a lot of things that were fun and good. Again, the actors mostly because that's really the only fresh thing about this movie is the actual actors, and I think that they did a really good job. But here's my gripes. Number one, the test drive scene. First, oh, John Powell came back to do the music, which essentially it was just the exact same soundtrack. Like there was just so few differences. You know what I mean? Like it was just like John Powell's back and the music is lit, okay, and also so much of this is the same, but that's fine. It was still good. Maybe that's why it was good. But the test drive scene was pretty much unwatchable for me, which is really insane because it shouldn't be. That is the highlight scene of the movie when Hiccup can finally ride Toothless and they figure out how to make the he's got that button that on his foot to make it work to make sure he can fly. It's a death defying moment when Hiccup almost dies falling off of Toothless, right? Like it's a whole scene. But I think it's the mix of there's like it's live action, so it's a real location. I'm assuming it's somewhere in Ireland. It looks gorgeous. It looks like Ireland, but there's a real location. There's a animated dragon, CG dragon, and a real actor that's supposed to be sitting on that dragon, and they have to make it look real, right? And somehow the combination of that, the motion blur and shaking of the camera, and I understand that the camera should shake when like Hiccup is falling and stuff like that, but the way it was done, like this scene made me feel like when they're going through that whole, they're falling and then he's trying to get back on and da da da. That part specifically made me like have a headache. Like it just was so the motion blur and the shaking and the trying to see, and the thing is like it never got like a really good shot. It feels like it just didn't really get a good shot on Toothless or Hiccup because Hiccup is shaking and Toothless is like, falling, and like because of the nature of what it is, it looked horrible in my personal opinion. And I think a lot of the scenes looked really awkward because either they were really pressed in close to the actors' faces, so that you didn't see Toothless, or it was really close to Toothless and you didn't see the actors. And I feel like again that's that whole thing of like this is a CG dragon and these are real people, and maybe it's more difficult. I mean, you think in this day and age of CG and it being everywhere that they would be able to figure out how to make it look good, but it feels like a lot of the time they were trying to skip on showing both Toothless and the actors in the same scene, at least for certain scenes. And it was just noticeable to me because I'm like, this is awkward. Like, it looks like it looks like Hiccup and Astrid are just in the sky. All you see is like here up, and because they are in the sky, they're on Toothless. But I don't know what it was. It was just some of the blocking or what the configuration was just awkward. And I feel like it was their way of being like, okay, we don't need Toothless in this shot, so let's just, even though they're riding Toothless, so I don't know. It's just, there was a few scenes like that where I was like, this feels weird. I don't know if it's like really hard to CG this dragon and have the actors on it at the same time or what, but y'all made it look like it was hard because it felt like you were avoiding having that happen too often. So there's that. That was test drive. The test drive scene was the only scene that I could not watch. Like, I was getting dizzy. I'm telling you, I was getting a headache from it. I don't know if anyone else had that experience, but I thought it looked terrible. But that was the only scene that looked terrible to me. Other than that, let me think. Oh, the other thing was, I feel like the actors, and again, they did a great job. They did a great job, but I feel like they must have gotten the direction to be like the animated characters, at least to a certain degree, right? Like, basically, your Hiccup, be the Hiccup in the movie, right? Or your Astrid, be the Astrid in the movie. But like, and there were some scenes where Mason Thames did a phenomenal job. He was so good at that mix of awkward and uncomfortable and just trying to be heard Hiccup. Like, he did a really great job. But the first scene where he tries that, so when the dragons are attacking and he's in the smithy with Gobber, and he's talking to Gobber about like how he wants to go kill a dragon. And then in the animated movie, Hiccup does this whole like, oh, you want to hold back all of this? You don't know, like, he's trying to he's trying to act like he's all tough. He's like, you're not going to stop all of this. You can't contain all of this, or whatever he says. I can't remember exactly, but he's like trying to be like, you can't contain all of this. I'm a Viking. I got to go do Viking things. And of course, in the animated feature, it's flawlessly awkward Hiccup who is so relatable. But Mason, that was the first scene where I was concerned about where this was going to go, because he did not commit enough to that bit. And there was just a couple of scenes where I felt like if he had just been fully committed to being awkward Hiccup, it would have been perfect. And I feel like for that one, he like didn't put enough of himself into it, like enough of the Hiccup vibe into it. Like, Hiccup, he uses like a big space. He just used little space. And I just feel like even his voice, like, he was trying to do that, oh, I'm a tough guy kind of a thing, but it just didn't quite commit. And there was a few scenes like that for some of the other characters, where I feel like they were trying to be the goofy animated versions of themselves, while also, I guess, maybe holding on to a sense of realism, and that it just didn't hit. It just did not hit. And I think the only one who was like pretty much steady throughout, was Fishlegs. Fishlegs, the actor that I don't know his name, I'm sorry, but he did a phenomenal job. He was Fishlegs through and through. He was awkward through and through. He was goofy through and through. Like, he sold it. The twins, Rough Nut and Tough Nut, they were good, but again, there were some of those scenes where it felt like their dialogue was not hitting. Like, the beautiful thing about How to Train Your Dragon is the animated feature is that the actors just, they could just fire those little one-liners off, no doubt, no beats, and then the other, if there's a retort, like, the retort comes like that, it's like, it's fire. And I know, I know for, my cats are running around, that just scared me. I don't even know what they're running for. I know for voice acting, it's a different thing, but you're still acting, you're just acting in a booth instead. And I feel like when you're face to face, you should be able to fire those things off even faster and even more smarmy or sassy or whatever you're going for, sarcastic, I don't know, whatever they were going for. And it feels like for Rough Nut and Tough Nut specifically, there was just some dead points where they were clearly trying to say something funny, but I even like missed it. I was like, was that funny, or what's that? What was that? So I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but it felt like, and Snotlout, he did a great job, but there was a couple of times. It was just a couple of times when it was just like, okay, you guys are trying too hard to be the animated characters, but you're actually not committing enough to being like that. And also, you shouldn't be. You should still be like, yes, you're based on this character. Yes, you're the live action version of this character, but you're still supposed to be something unique. And it just felt like they didn't commit to that entirely in some of the scenes. Astrid also, Nico Parker, I think her name is. She did a great job. She did a great job as Astrid. I really do think so. But I felt like she was so flat through most of the movie. Like, I know Astrid is serious, but like it felt like she didn't really even become like relatable at all until way later in the film when she actually started showing emotion. It just felt like her emotion was this the whole time. And even like you didn't get a lot of like, just even the subtle things of your eyes or your eyebrows or your forehead, furrowed brow, whatever. Just she didn't really do anything until much later. And then I was like, oh, she's got emotions. Okay. But I'm sure again that this was her direction and what she was directed to be, very serious. So I still think she did a good job for what she had. And so no complaints there. Um, I do like some things that I did like that they did kind of add in, because I don't remember this being in the original animated, was Snotlout being desperate for his father's attention, which I thought was fantastic, and his father like completely ignoring him until the end of the film. That was fantastic. I really like that. I thought that was a great addition to Snotlout's character, especially given that he's got all this bravado and he's like trying to prove himself so badly, and he's like flirting with Astrid and like all this stuff, which that was still in there. But I like the extra layer of his dad is ignoring him, so here he is trying desperately to be seen, and that kind of comes out in that bully behavior or that like smarmy behavior, and I was like, that is a good addition. Like that. So they did do some things different. Also, there was this one scene. The scene exists in the animated feature, but for the life of me, I can't remember if the dialogue is the same. So y'all tell me, because I haven't had time to watch the animated yet. But Astrid is Astrid and Hiccup, and most of the dialogue was the same, but this part when she was like, I want to be the chief, maybe she did say this, but she tells Hiccup that she wants to be the chief, and he's like, oh well, you're basically the child my father always wanted, so yeah, that'd be great. I'd stand it, I wouldn't be in your way, kind of a thing. And I really like that. It was interesting because it did seem like they were trying to make Astrid more important to Stoic as well. um which is fine, I guess, because even like Hiccup is like, don't get involved, my father really respects you and I don't want you to lose that respect and stuff like that. I don't recall any of that being in there, but I don't mind it. I think it's fine that, maybe Stoic was like, hey, she's really brave, really strong, that's how I want you to be, Hiccup. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But there was just a couple, but see, those are very minor things, very good things, nice additions, but so small. But I guess that's kind of what a live action is. It's supposed to pretty much be it. But the fact that it was like basically word for word, like I could quote it, I could quote the film from having watched the animated feature. That's pretty wild. Um, but again, good job. And Mason Thames did a fantastic job. And Gerard Butler being real life Stoic, along with being the voice of Stoic in the animated, fantastic. And I think one of my favorite scenes was the one where, you know, uh, Hiccup gets found out as being a dragon tamer, dragon rider, and Stoic throws him into the house or into the big place, whatever. And they have that argument where he's like, "You're not my son," kind of thing. That that was such a good scene. They played off each other so well. Honestly, Gerard Butler and Mason Thames, they played off each other so well as father and son. They did such a good job. I absolutely loved it. So that was really good. Honestly, all of the scenes were really good. There was except for Test Drive. We talked about that. Overall, it was really good. I don't really I don't have any complaints other than the CG, and I thought that Toothless looked uglier than the animated version of Toothless, which is crazy because this is just like an extra animated version of Toothless, and you couldn't make him like cuter. Like, I don't know what it is about him, but he just does not look as cute. I don't know what it is, but I didn't like it. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that jumped out at me that I was like, no, I don't think so. I think, overall, did this film have to be made? I don't think so, because we already have it in the best form that it will ever be. Um, but I don't regret going to see it at all because, again, I like this movie. How to Train Your Dragon is probably one of my top animated films of all time. So, and probably one of the best written ones of all time. So, I don't have any complaints. Um, yeah, it was good. I really liked, like, the ending was essentially exactly the same. I think in this one they also had the addition of, because I don't remember this, but Stoic at the beginning when they have like a round table with all the Vikings and everything and they're going out to fight, he like calls out to all of the different Vikings, and they're Vikings from like all, or yeah, they're Vikings, they're all Vikings, but they're Vikings from like all different corners of the world. So there's like a Viking from Asia and a Viking from, looks, I don't know where, somewhere very far south or something like that. Vikings from like all over the world that were coming together to fight the dragons and find the dragon nest. So instead of Berk being like just a place where they live, it's actually a place where they congregated to get rid of dragons forever, which I thought was interesting and I believe entirely different from the motivations in the original film. But it wasn't really like pressed upon. It was just that one scene and then it was done. The other thing that I noticed too was it just, and I noticed it in that specific scene, the Viking like gathering scene, is that it felt like there was just so much awkwardness, and I'm not sure what that comes from. I think it came from these actors trying to be like these goofy Vikings, but also still trying to be these realistic Vikings that are fighting dragons. Like there's like this fine line of realism and awkwardness that I think was actually achieved better in the animated film than it was in the live action film. And because they're trying to be goofy, but I feel like they were trying to also add in a bit of seriousness, and it just didn't hit. It just, in certain scenes, it didn't hit, and that was one of the ones where I was like, it feels almost like there's an awkward silence happening right now, and I don't understand that. But I did get a lot of good laughs in this movie, and unfortunately, I was in an almost empty theater, which was fun. I always love that, but there was like four other people in the theater, and none of them were laughing. I was the only one having a good time, and I kind of feel sad about that. I don't know if they were, but I'm a laugher. Okay. And my favorite scene though was when Hiccup is looking for Toothless, or the Night Fury. He doesn't call him Toothless yet, but he's going to look for him so he can see if he killed the dragon, right? And he's going through the woods and he hits that branch and it hits him right back in the face, which absolutely happens in the animated film. But when it happened in the live action, it sounded so painful. Like, I don't know if Mason really got smashed in the face with that branch. Like, I know they do sound in post to make it sound more painful. Like, I get that's how that works. But dang, I laughed so hard during that part. Like, that was so good. And Mason was I ain't even mad. Okay. Mason, I did complain at first because I thought Mason was like too tall to be Hiccup. Like Hiccup is the tiniest, scrawniest little dude that you'll ever meet, right? Scrawny, Mason has though. He has that on point. But I thought, man, that guy's too tall. He's too tall to be Toothless. You needed to get like younger people to play these characters or whatever. But honestly, they did such a good job, and I ain't even mad that Mason was tall. I'm not even mad about it because he honestly did Hiccup justice. Like, of course, what Jay Baruchel is, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the guy, the original voice of Hiccup will always be my Hiccup. Okay, that voice will always be the voice that I know Hiccup for. And sometimes you could kind of hear Mason almost trying to mimic the voice a little, but clearly he didn't have the direction at all to be like that voice. He was clearly directed to use his own voice. But there was moments when I was like, I hear the original Hiccup in there, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, overall it was really good. And I would say if you love How to Train Your Dragon, go and see it because like it's the same movie. Just different, just real people. And just if during the test drive scene you might get a headache. But yeah, I had a great time. Would I buy it? I think I would probably buy the movie to add it to my collection of How to Train Your Dragon movies, just to have it there. I do wonder, I mean, live actions don't usually like go on and do sequels, so I assume they won't do the sequels, but to me, like that would be kind of weird, but it would kind of be fun. I wouldn't mind. The thing is like I really like I really did, despite like some of the actors not pulling off the jokes very well, and that's not their fault. That's probably the directing more than anything. Um, or it could be their fault. I don't know them, but for the most part, they were funny. I got laughs from pretty much every character. Honestly, it's just there were some dead spots, and that's not necessarily their fault. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing other films. It's just I would hope that they would figure out how to fix that dragon to human ratio in the filming to make it not look like so jarring and not have to use like shaking and motion blur to make it look like there's a person on, like to cover the fact that there is not actually a real life person riding a real life dragon. Okay, they use that to cover it. I don't think that they will. I assume that they won't because that would be wild if they did, because I think that would probably be the first ever film to go on to do that, to make sequels live actions. So I wouldn't want them to. But I mean, it would probably just be the same movie, and I already like How to Train Your Dragon 2 and The Hidden World, so I wouldn't be mad for another opportunity to see them. Let's just say that. But anyway, I like the actors. I thought they did a good job. I thought it was fun. I thought it was silly. I thought it was How to Train Your Dragon, dude. You can't go wrong. Except for the few places where they did go wrong. Yeah. So I think that's it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stood out to me. I don't think so. Like it was it was a good time, and yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think we're just gonna leave it there. But are you gonna go see How to Train Your Dragon? What do you did you like the actors, or did you think that it was pointless and unnecessary, and maybe the actors didn't hit the mark very well? Or do you think it was lit? I don't know. Whatever. It certainly wasn't as lit as the animated feature. I will always suggest you watch the original How to Train Your Dragon, and because that's the best one, and watch all three of them because they're all super good and they're really well written, and the character arcs are amazing. Also, I had this like light bulb moment in theater when I was watching the end. When Hiccup falls and he's unconscious, and Toothless goes into the fire to rescue him, and obviously he saves him, etc. Right? And then I was like, I flashed back to the Hidden World and how Toothless falls from the sky unconscious, and Hiccup is conscious. But of course, Hiccup isn't a dragon, so he can't go save him. But he asks the Light Fury to go save him, right? One of my favorite scenes of all time, made me cry. Okay. And like that mirrored the first movie, except it was reversed. Now Hiccup is saving Toothless, who is unconscious and can't save himself. Whereas in the first movie, Toothless saved Hiccup, who was unconscious and couldn't save himself. And I don't know why. That was just like a full circle, like beautiful moment for me. And I'm like, the writers of these movies actually went so hard for no reason. This is a children's animated film, and I'm touched. Okay. So anyway, that's a side tangent. It has nothing to do with the live action. But yeah. So are you gonna go see How to Train a Dragon? Did you think it was pointless? Did you like it? Did you like the actors? Did you not? Um yeah, I guess that's it. What's your favorite How to Train Your Dragon movie, by the way? Which of the three is your favorite? And would you want to see another live action How to Train Your Dragon movie? Like, would you want them to do the sequels? So I'll leave it there. So just remember that I love you and Jesus loves you more. I love you and Jesus loves you more. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.